Hello there, and welcome to this short getting started guide with HubSpot. So whether you are a HubSpot user, you've just switched it on and you want to know how to use it, or you're deciding on whether you need to choose a specific CRM system and just want to get a bit of a feel for HubSpot, this video will take you through how it works, how to get started with it, and if we're looking to specifically, we're going to look at emailing a segment of your contacts, something that's really common. So if you're using MailChimp or something similar, I'll show you how to email people in your contacts, how to generate new marketing leads using HubSpot. Big one is keeping on top of sales deals and pushing them through a sales pipeline and funnel. And then lastly, saving time with automation. So we'll go through a few different scenarios there. And then finally, we'll look at some of the reporting options in HubSpot as well. So let's take it away. So if you don't have a HubSpot account yet, jump to HubSpot.com, click on the Get Started Free, enter your email address and a password to get started, and that will kick off a HubSpot session for you. So I'll go there and do that right now. So there's my email address, click on Verify Email, and now HubSpot will go off and send me an email. So we're back in just a second. Okay, so there's my verification code from my email. If it hasn't come through, always check your junk or spam folder as well. So clicking on Next, and HubSpot will then ask me to create a password, so I'll go ahead and do that. And once again, click Next, and now it will ask me a couple of details, and then pretty soon we'll be able to get started. So it's going to ask me a few questions. I'm going to put owner, and the company name is Ucidity, and I'm going to say this for now, and then we'll put in our website as well. Now this is interesting, where do you want your data to be hosted? So if it's in the EU, there's going to be stricter privacy around your data. If you're hosting in US, just be aware that at the moment there's regulations where the US can actually access your data if they absolutely need to. So just be aware of that. I'm just going to choose EU just to be on the cautious side, and then go ahead and click an account. So it's now generating the account for me, and very soon it will ask me the next question. Have I used a CRM before? Do I know my way around, etc.? I'm going to click on know my way around because I just want to jump in and get started, and I'm going to skip the goals. I'm going to just jump straight into the CMS component, and it's going to go and kick this off for me. Okay, so now it's kicked off a getting started guide. So I'm going to jump back to that at a later time. So first thing I'm going to do is if I jump to the contact screen in HubSpot, we'll see that we've got a couple of sample contacts in there. So these essentially are people. So we've got Brian Halligan, who's one of the founders of HubSpot, and then Maria Johnson. So a couple of contacts in here already by default. And we'll see if we go on this menu, we've got contacts, companies, and a few other extra sections here. I'm going to skip over that, but essentially HubSpot's broken up into what they call hubs. So we've got Marketing Hub, where you do all of your marketing from. Sales Hub, where you do all your different tracking sales and sales activities from. Service Hub, where you can have knowledge bases, tickets, etc. Then there's an automation area, and then there's a reporting area. Okay, so let's jump back to contacts, and I'm now going to go ahead and do a very quick import of some sample contacts. So the way I do that is go to Actions. The way I do that is I click on Import, and then HubSpot's going to prompt me and say, hey, have you got a list of your contacts? So typically it's going to be like an Excel document, or sometimes what we call a CSV document. So I click on Start Import, select a file with all my contacts in it. So I might be exporting from, say, my email system or another CRM system. So it's just one file. It's got one object in it, and it's contacts. So I can actually import other types of information as well, but we're going to focus on contacts for this session. I choose the file, so I've got my 100 contacts there. There's some sample contacts I pulled off the internet, and I'm going to leave everything as is, and then it tries and maps everything across. So essentially, with this section of it, if you've got your CSV file or your Excel file column names written in a way that HubSpot's going to understand them, then it'll map them across correctly. If, say, for example, say you've got first name, it's called XYZ, HubSpot's not really going to understand what XYZ column is, so you just need to adjust your columns. But most of the time, if you're exporting from a system, HubSpot will understand the import. I'm going to click these two and finish import. And what I'm going to end up with is an extra 100 contacts in my system. So there we go. That was super quick. And now if I jump to my contacts, I've now got 100 contacts in this system, which is great. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is, if I'm jumping back to my agenda, is we're going to look at a couple of different scenarios. So the first one was emailing a portion of your contacts. So as an example, say we've got the first 10 people here, they are a client. So let's click the first 10. Say they're a client in our system. So what I can do is set them up in HubSpot so HubSpot understands that they're a client, and then I can email that particular section of people. So let's look at how that works. So I'm doing what we call a bulk update of contacts. I click on edit here, and I can change what's called their life cycle stage. So when someone's progressing through your company, we'll go to this drop down here. So they're going to be a subscriber. They're probably subscribed to a news list. A lead, meaning that maybe someone passed you a business card when you're out networking, but you've never spoken to this person before. You don't know whether they're a right fit for your business, or you don't really know anything about them. Then there's a marketing qualified lead. So maybe they came in by a specific section of your website where they are entering details into a contact form, or they've downloaded something off your website. So that means you've had some sort of marketing. You're expecting to generate a lead, and your marketing basically says, look, they've gone through the next step of understanding that they have some sort of possibility of becoming a client one day. And from the marketing angle, they've ticked a box. Then we've got a sales qualified lead. So typically there's some sort of interaction with a salesperson, whether that be phone, email, or some other interaction. And you're starting to qualify that lead. Do they have budget? Are they a right fit? Is your product or service a priority for them? And we can start to say, well, they've ticked some sales tick boxes now. So we can start offering them our product and service. Opportunity means that there's an active sales deal. They've shown you some sort of signal to say, hey, look, we actually like your product or service, and let's go through the conversation of doing business with you. Then customer. Okay, so customer essentially means that they've ticked all the boxes for you. They've paid their invoice, they've signed the documentation, and they're on board, and you're actively doing business with them. And final one here is their evangelist. So essentially they are someone, they've been a customer, they absolutely loved working with you, and now they're telling other people about your business, and they're bringing in people themselves. So you want to look after your evangelists. So I'm going to tick customer, and we click on update, and then HubSpot goes and updates all these people. So I've now got 10 people that are a customer. So what I need to do now is essentially what's called segmenting our contacts. So if I go to this section here, contact lists, and I jump into, I'm just going to close the tour and click on create list. I'm going to call this customers, and these are all our customers in our system. And if I click next, HubSpot then gives us abilities to filter based on certain criteria. So I'm going to select a really simple criteria. So we're looking at our contacts, we're looking at the life cycle stage, and it's basically saying, like, if any one of these people are either a customer or an evangelist, then they go into this customer list. So there's our original 10 people. So I'll click on save list. Now that this list is generated in the system, I can do things with those lists. So one thing I can do is email them. So an obvious one might be that, say we've got a new product or service that's coming out and we want to let all of our customers be aware of it. Or another one could be, say, a monthly newsletter that we just want to keep our customers informed of what we're up to. So I'm going to jump back to my lists and refresh this screen. And then we've got our customers and we've got 10 people in that list, which is fantastic. Okay, so now that I've got 10 people in this list, I can now email them. So if I go to marketing and then email, I can generate a new email for them. So I do have to upgrade to the starter. This is where you start having to pay for HubSpot for a little bit. So I'm going to upgrade to a trial version of HubSpot, and this means you can do more with it, so bear with me. Okay, so if I click the Get Started here, what that's done is it's kicked off a starter version of HubSpot. There are going to be some features we'll need to kick off, like a trial paid version. So I'm going to click that I have used MailChimp in the past. I know how to use emails. So if I click on Create Email now, then I'm going to click what we call a regular email. We can have automated emails. As an example, if someone fills out your contact form, we could have an automatic reply that says, hey, thanks for getting in contact with us. Here's a link to our capability statement or a short video of what we're all about. And in the meantime, our salespeople will get back to you shortly, type thing. So I'm going to click on regular email. And now it shows me a screen where I can choose a template for the layout of my email. So HubSpot does have a drag and drop builder as well. And I'm just going to close the tool once again. And I'm going to start with something like a newsletter type email. So I'm going to click here. And I won't go through the full email builder. And yes, we do have AI content building as well. That's very, very new. So I'm just going to click, I'm going to switch it on, why not? And then with this drag and drop builder, what we can do is drag different elements onto the newsletter. Okay, so I will post that in another video. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to jump through this system, click on settings, and it's going to come from me. The subject line is our monthly newsletter. Okay, so I filled out a bit of the text here. Last thing I'm going to do is select what we call a subscription type. This is something that I'll also cover in another video, but for now, just watch the bouncing ball. Monthly newsletter. Okay, there we go. And we're going to set English, and then we can switch on this as well. So once that is created, I can now jump back into here and save that, refresh our screen, and then we have a subscription type. Essentially, this is allowed. So if someone chooses to unsubscribe, there's a whole different types of subscriptions they can choose to subscribe to or from. As an example, we might have customer updates and monthly newsletter. So the customer updates might be critical information that you automatically send people, and then they can opt in or out of their newsletter. Okay, so next thing I'm going to do is select the people that I'm going to send it to, and that list we originally created, that is where we get to send that original list. We can have people that we never send to as well. As an example, we might have a spam list where we don't contact those people, and we can either send now or schedule for later. So I might actually set that up to go the end of the week at 8:15 a.m. so they can read it on the way to work. Okay, and then I would click review and schedule, and that would go off, and that would sit there until the end of this week, and those 10 people would get that email. So that's, if we jump back to our agenda, that's covering emailing a portion of your contacts. Let's look now at generating new marketing leads. So I'm going to exit out of this, and I'm going to go into a section called landing pages. So landing pages are essentially a page that you can have on your website or on HubSpot. And essentially you're giving them an offer. It could be click here for a 25% discount on our latest products, or it could be that you've got a page that's specific to an industry that you work with. Say it's the health industry, and you are a business coach who helps health experts grow their business. So you would have a landing page specifically for that. So let's click on Get Started. Give it a name. I'm going to call it Health Growth. Create the page. And what we're doing here now is it gives you, once again, it's like a drag and drop type scenario. But say, as an example, we might have a book that we've written, and we want to offer that book for them to download. It might be the first 10 steps to grow your health business. So I'm just going to click here, select the template, and I can start using this as a page. Okay, and I've got that as well. But what we can do now, if we scroll down, we'll see that we've got some content that we can have here in the header, some content, what are the benefits of downloading this ebook, and then they can enter their details in here. So what we've got here is a form, so people can enter their first name, last name, email address, etc. And this is basically saying, look, we can either choose a form that we've created in the past. We don't actually have a form in the system, so let's create a new one. And I'm going to call Health Growth Landing Page Opt-in. Click on Create. It's going to be a really, really, really simple form, and HubSpot sort of predicted what we want anyway, so I'm going to ask for an email address, and I'm just going to change one thing on it, where I can change the download submit button to download, and there we've got a landing page up and running. And okay, now if I just jump back up here, I'm going to give the form a title. And fix up a couple of other things on the page as well. Now you might see here that I'm trying to publish this thing and make it live, but it's saying, hey, I need a page title. So I'm just going to click here and give it a title. That's going to be Health Growth Opt-in. And then we've got the other one. Oh, I can publish that now. Fantastic. Okay, if I click on publish, now I can use this URL here. So publish now. Okay, so I'm getting an error message once again. Typically that's because of the social media icons here. So I'm going to click on edit. I'm going to get rid of the icons that I don't really want. That one, that one, that one. And we'll just put in facebook.com. You would put in your own Facebook here as well. Okay, and now I should be able to publish. Publish now. Okay, and now this page is live. So there's a few other prompts, but that's essentially how we can do it. There we go. Okay, so there's my page, and if I enter my email address, click on download. Okay, very, very basic, but that essentially says thanks for downloading. Okay, we could have other messages here, go to another page, etc. But that's a really, really basic way to have a an opt-in page, landing page on your website without even having to have a website. So if I go back in here to contacts, you'll see that now I have this new contact in the system. And if I click on this person, this would be an example of what we were saying before. So it's automatically set it to a lead. We can actually get it to set to a marketing qualified lead, which means that now that they're a marketing qualified lead, what I can do is then actively remarket to them as well. So I might send them to a list where I can have a Facebook ad running or Google ads, or I might have a specific list of people in here where I could say, hey, give me everyone who is a marketing contact. Similar before, where I could have contact properties, lifestyle, life cycle stage, and then everyone who's a marketing qualified lead. And now I've only got one person, but essentially I can now send them emails similar to what we saw before. And I can actively market to that person as well. So that's a simple way of doing it. So if we jump back to our agenda, so we've covered off generating new marketing leads, emailing a portion of your contacts. Let's look at keeping on top of sales deals. So as an example, we've been interacted with John, okay, and we've managed to get a few extra details. So I've managed now to find out what his first and last name are. And I may have even got a phone number as well. So I could put in a mobile number in here as well. Okay, so now we've got all these details in here. And what I can do as I'm progressing through with the sales process is, this is where I love HubSpot. So if I've been emailing this person, if I've been calling this person, if we've had a few meetings, HubSpot automatically keeps track of all this information. So you can see from here that HubSpot has tracked that I first visited this page at this particular date. I filled out a form, and I might, if I'm the salesperson, I might have some notes in here. And spoke with John, he's keen to know more about our product. We can have an automatic task to follow up as well. So I'm just going to tick that and save note. Okay, so now I've got a note in the system, which means that if anyone else from the organization views this record, they can be like, oh, okay, well, someone's already spoken to John. Here's some details we've found out about where he's at. And I've also noticed that there is a task for someone to follow up with him as well. And as we progress through the sales journey, say, for example, we did have a meeting together. So I could create a meeting. Let me just log a meeting first, just so you can see what it looks like. And say we've got a meeting scheduled. So if you connect it to your calendar, this will automatically sync up as well. And first contact with John. Okay, so we log that, and then say we've already had our meeting, we've had a few different conversations, and John's like, yep, great, I want to actually do business together. So what we can do now is create what we call a sales deal. So we click on add, and John's interested in XYZ product, and I'm going to click create here. So what's happened now is we've now got a task in the system, a deal in the sales deal in the system that says we're actively wanting to do business together. We haven't actually signed the dotted line yet, but we're progressing through. So the exciting thing about this is that if I go back to the sales section of HubSpot, click on sales deals, then I've now got this sales deal sitting here. And if I click on what we call a Kanban view, we can see that there's this sales deal sitting there. Okay, so you can imagine if we've got a few different deals. So we've had the meeting, I've moved John across to here, and now we've got this qualified to buy. So as the salesperson, I'm probably finding out more information about this deal. We might find, okay, well, it's the actual deal's worth 5,000 for that service. Okay, and it's new business, so we've never actually done business before. So we can split up our sales deals between repeat business and new business. And once again, if I go back to my sales deals board, I just put in a value of 5,000 here, and we'll see that the total for this part of our sales journey or our sales pipeline is $5,000. So if I was to then go ahead and add another sales deal, let's just have a quick at what that looks like. So I'm going to go back to my contacts. This person here gets a sales deal as well. Say someone else has been actively chatting with Melinda and she's interested in ABC product. And that's worth 15K. Oh, too many zeros. And click create. Now if I go back to my sales deal, you'll see that there's now 2 deals on the board. If I move this one across to also qualify to buy, we've now got a total of $20,000 in our pipeline. And we've also got this weighted value as well. So this essentially says that if they're back at the qualified to buy part of our sales process, there's a 40% chance that they'll convert to a paying client. And as a result, the weighted is $8,000. So if you're doing some basic forecasting for your sales, you can say, well, based on what everything's looking like at the moment, then we've got $8,000 in our pipeline. Okay, so if this deal progresses through to here, we can now see that this has got an 80% chance of closing. So that's $12,000 in our probably going to close, and this is 2,000, so now we've got 14,000 in our pipeline. And if we progress this person through, so say we've had a few meetings with John, and we've progressed all the way to closed one, then you get a little thing to say congratulations. But essentially what happens here is that we've won $5,000 in our pipeline, okay? And that'll keep putting up. Now back to where we were with the sales tracking. So say we've got Melinda's deal here. I'm just going to view that record and say we do have a task to follow up. Meeting with Melinda. Okay, 3 days, set a reminder. Okay, that'll now email a reminder. So as an example, say if one of your salespeople are away and say they've had some urgent leave and they've had to jump ship for a few days, what we can do is go into HubSpot and view their sales tasks. So skip the tour once again, but essentially we can go in here and say, hey, well, there's 2 tasks, one to follow up with Melinda. I can take on that task myself, or say when I come back from my leave, I can come back and go, all right, well, what's overdue? Is there anything overdue? Great, nothing overdue. But I've got some tasks to follow up upcoming on Monday. So maybe on Thursday or Friday, I can start preparing for these tasks. And the thing that we find our clients get out of this is that this is where we stop that whole thing of like sales opportunities falling through the cracks, and that embarrassing situation of, say, Melinda emailing a week later going, hello, I thought we were going to have a meeting. At least now we can keep on top of our game. And we've got this list here that says, all right, well, in terms of sales, what do we need to do to keep the ball rolling? And it could just be a matter of if we are going on leave, we might just email Melinda and say, hey, I've had to take some urgent leave. Fred Smith will now take over for you. Or you might just say, do you mind if we push our meeting back a couple of days? Okay, so this is really, really, really useful, this one, where you can keep on top of all your sales tasks. No longer can things fall through the cracks anymore. I love it. And our clients love it too. So if we go back to here, we've covered sales deals, we've covered marketing, generating new contacts, and we've covered sort of segmenting your contacts as well. Next thing we're going to look at is saving some time with automation. So let's have a look at the automation feature within HubSpot. So if I jump back to marketing and then forms, so there's that form that we created a little bit earlier when we were building that landing page. What I'm going to do is switch on an automated email that says, hey, here's your document that you wanted to download. So if we click on here, click on edit, and then click on automation, and then click on create this workflow. then it's set up a very basic workflow where essentially we can send an email once they've filled out the form. So we click on here, and if I create a new email, and we do a very basic one, so it's health growth opt-in, and it's from our company, so utility from address, so it's going to be my email address. We can have a different subscription, so I can add one in here as well, so I'll go ahead and do that. Okay, so I've just created the subscription type, and people like to know why they are receiving automated emails. So this just gives them an idea of why they may have got an email from us. So I'll just type in English as well, create that. Okay, and now if I go back to my automated email, I'm going to refresh this. And I'll just have to go through that process again. Okay, so I've written out this email as well. Just be aware there is this thing called personalization. So if I have my cursor here and click on personalize, I can then look at all the different fields here in a contact record. So I might choose, say, last name. And then I can put in last name as well. So that's how that bit works. So essentially we've got an email now, and we'll need to select a footer. So I'll go ahead and click on manage, and I'll go ahead and set up a footer. Okay, so to do that, just click on the edit, and then it'll ask you all the relevant questions. You only have to do that once. Once it's done, it's set up for as long as you have your business. And so if we jump back to here, we'll just have to refresh that again. Okay, and there we are. We've now got our default footer. So as I said, you don't need to do that once, but click on Save Email. Now we have our automated email, which we can switch on. I'll click this on. And there you have it. That's your automation. So what happens now is that when people fill out the form, they will get that email to say, hey, here's the link to your document. It means you don't have to spend time manually emailing people. But to give you a bit of an idea, what we can do is there's a lot more automations to that as well. So this is the free version of HubSpot. I'm just going to upgrade slightly, and then I'll come back. Okay, I'm back. This is a quick look at HubSpot. This is more the paid, this is more the professional version. But what you can do is with the automation, this is where a lot of people save a lot of time. So one of the things we can do is this one's set up so that when a deal is won, it sends our team an internal notification to say, hey, we've won a deal. So as an example, it sends an email internally, sends an email to the person who is involved with the sale from the client end to say, hey, welcome on board. And we can do all sorts of other things. We could send an invoice. We could send an invoice. We could create a new record, which means that our delivery team can now take care of it. We can send something in our internal Slack or Teams notifications to say, hey, we've won a new deal, which helps keep people's morale up, which is fantastic. Now I'm just going to jump back to here as well. And we've got these sales meetings as well. So this is another area we find a lot of people save time with HubSpot. So as an example, if you've got those emails back and forth where it's like, hey, you were free at 12, and then someone replies saying, oh, no, I'm free at 1. And you're like, oh, I'm not free at 1. Can we do 2 o'clock? And there's these emails bouncing back and forth forever. What we can do with HubSpot is set it up in a way that our calendar, these meetings are connected to our calendar. So what happens is that if I click on one of these, it is automatically synced with a calendar. And what this does now is that it shows the person who's trying to book all the time slots that I have available. So this one's set up so it's a 30-minute meeting. So HubSpot talks to your calendar and it says, all right, when is John's availability for 30-minute meetings? So I could just jump in and go, all right, well, there's one next week at 2:15 p.m. We can do things like we can have a minimum of 1 day's notice. We could have an hour's notice. We could have breaks in between meetings. This one saves a lot of time for people, especially if you have an online meeting as well, whether you use Zoom, Teams, Google Meet. If you have an online meeting as well, it automatically generates the meeting for you. And we just find it saves so much time. So a system that we have is that when we go to a networking event, as a salesperson, I swap details with people who want to meet up with me. I then drop them into a special system. So I'll give you a quick idea. So we have a special system where we can create a new contact in the system, and we've got a little tick box in ours that says send this person an automated introduction email. So when we're creating a new contact from scratch, so say I've got a business card and I give them to my team and say, hey, can you set up a meeting? It sends them an email to say, hey, great to meet you at XYZ event. Click here, which then jumps to my booking system to book in a meeting, because I'd love to learn more about your business and how we could do how we could work together. And what happens is that after a networking event, I'll typically have like 3 or 4 meetings just pop up in my calendar, and that probably saves me half an hour worth of work getting back from my meetings, my networking events. So keep that in mind. Really, really handy way just to focus on sales as opposed to sitting there and doing admin all day. Okay, so last bit we wanted to focus on is the reporting. So let's jump into the reporting section. Okay, so I'm back in HubSpot. If I go to reports and then select reports, this shows me all the different types of reports that I've got available. And the way we normally set up with our clients is that we've got a marketing dashboard and a sales dashboard. And if you're also tracking like support tickets as well, you can have a support dashboard as well. Most clients we work with are just sales and marketing. So if I click on dashboards, now I don't have any dashboards set up at the moment, but I could have say a marketing dashboard. I'm just going to select the out-of-the-box ones, so you can actually tailor these as well. So we've got a marketing dashboard, and I'm also going to have a sales dashboard as well. They're the main areas that I like to focus on as a business owner. And if we go to our sales dashboard, you can see, hey, what's my team been up to? How many new contacts have we created? What's in our pipeline to close soon? How much have we closed? And they're sort of the main ones that we focus on, but we could also look at what's our average sale value. We also look at where are our sales coming from. So is it coming from marketing activity? Is it come from face-to-face activity? Is it come from cold calling? There are all these different types of reports that we'll have in our sales dashboard. And the other one is our marketing dashboard as well. So we get a bit of a feel for how our website's performing, what sort of marketing activities we've got running. There's quite a lot that we can run from there as well. Okay, there's our basic marketing dashboard. So things like how many people have visited our website, how many people have viewed landing pages, how many people have viewed blogs, things like that. So there's our landing page. And what emails have we sent, what's the click rate. So it gives you a really good feel as to how your marketing is going and the potential of your marketing as well. So that's a wrap. So that's our 40-minute take on HubSpot. Hope you enjoyed it. As always, if you want to know more about HubSpot, please feel free just to reach out and at least have a 15-minute chat. Subscribe to our HubSpot tips and tricks newsletter if you are a HubSpot user as well. And if you're just curious about what CRM's best for you, absolutely reach out to us as well. But thanks for watching.